This is my list for the top AFC running backs this season on each team. The criteria is exactly that. I took each team, I found their leading rusher, I compiled all their stats. But if you guys are new to the channel, you want to see some more videos like this, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And with that said, let's get right into it. Number 16, Rex Burkhead. I feel like this is sort of an easy one. Burkhead, statistically, it was probably the worst running back in the NFL this season. Kind of put in a weird situation. It was either him or David Johnson, and David Johnson's nowhere near the player he was in Arizona all those years ago. He didn't get the ball a lot. He only had about 122 rushing attempts, had about 427 yards, 3 yards a carry, had 3 total touchdowns on the year, and they were all rushing. He is more of a receiving back. He caught about 78% of his targets for 186 yards. He only had a little over 600 yards from scrimmage. That is not necessarily great, but that Texans team is just not a great team overall, to be fair. So, we'll give him a pass in that aspect. Plus, he was never really like a peak running back, even when he was in New England. Number 15, Devonta Freeman. Ravens had a lot of issues when it came to their running back situation this season. When Lamar Jackson wasn't running the ball, it was a combination of guys like Le'Veon Bell, Latavius Murray, and Devonta Freeman. Freeman didn't even have a bad year in the slightest. He played 16 games, had 133 attempts for 576 yards, a little over 4 yards a carry, had 6 total touchdowns, had 190 total receiving yards with 81% of his targets being caught. I feel like the Ravens are for sure a Super Bowl contender if they don't face all their injuries. We Hoopin's probably somewhere fucking crying.
Lamar Jackson, first and goal for the game. Lamar's clutch. Mark Andrews, touchdown!
I think Freeman is very much so past his prime, but he did not do bad given the circumstances this season. And hopefully with a healthy J.K. Dobbins and a healthy Ravens team as a whole, they will be a solid AFC contender next year. Number 14, Myles Gaskin. It's hard because I always want to say he's overrated, but to be fair, not a lot of people talk about him. He averaged about 3.5 yards a carry, 173 attempts, 612 yards. He was efficient when it came to receiving, as he caught 78% of his targets. He had 7 total touchdowns this season. Gaskin's still young, so I think he can definitely get up. I think he can 100% get better, but I don't know. I don't really see anything crazy coming from him. Probably a 1,000 yard season would probably be his peak, in my opinion. Number 13, Darrell Williams. I was kind of thinking this was going to be Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but Helaire did miss a lot of the season. So Darrell Williams, brother of Chicago Bears running back Damien Williams, on 144 attempts, he had 558 yards on a little less than 4 yards per catch, 8 total touchdowns, caught 82% of his targets. He had about 1,000 all-purpose yards, so he actually had a really good year. Running backs are not really a huge focus in the Kansas offense. They are primarily a passing team, obviously, with Mahomes, Kelsey, and Hill being the primary beneficiaries. He was solid in the game against the Steelers, and I think he'll be a solid piece throughout the playoffs. He was not fantastic back this year, which is why he is where he's at right now. Number 12, Michael Carter. I think Carter has a lot of potential. I think a lot of people on the Jets have a lot of potential. I think their future actually looks bright. Their front office just can't fuck it up. He had almost 1,000 all-purpose yards on the season, with only 15 games played as a rookie, about 4 yards a carry, 4 rushing touchdowns. He caught about 65% of his targets, which among running backs on this list is actually quite low, but still not terrible. Again, he's a rookie. He's only going to get better. His connection with Zach Wilson's going to be better. He's going to learn a lot of stuff. I think, honestly, sky's the limit with him. Number 11, James Robinson. I feel so bad for James Robinson. The Jaguars drafted a running back last year when he was their clear number 1 running back in the fucking team. The Jaguars as a whole have had to deal with so much controversy and just on and off the field failure. He still churned out a solid year in 14 games, almost 5 yards a carry, almost 1,000 all-purpose on the season, had 8 rushing touchdowns on the year. I think next year, with a healthy front office, with a decent head coach, I think the Jags could. I don't think the Jags are playoff contenders, but I think the Jags could be about maybe 6 or 7 wins, which would be a vast improvement from the 3 wins they had this year. Number 10, Melvin Gordon. Gordon, I feel was a little under the radar this year, but he was very, very good. He had almost 1,150 all-purpose yards in the season, caught 74% of his targets, had 10 total touchdowns, 4.5 yards a carry, and he was splitting time with Devonta Williams also. Ever since Gordon left LA, I feel he's been very under the radar, but I guess it's working for him. He had a great year. Broncos are a quarterback and a coach away from being playoff contenders. Let's just see if they're able to do that, because I feel I've been saying that for years. Number 9, Devin Singletary. Singletary had a much better year than I thought he did, especially considering how pass-heavy Buffalo's offense truly is. He had almost 900 rushing yards on the season, had 8 total touchdowns, caught 80% of his targets, over 200 receiving yards. Singletary is honestly a good player, and he progressed a lot this year. Part of me doesn't see him being a huge factor in the Bills' playoff run. I've said in previous videos, I think the Bills are going to the Super Bowl, and right now, it looks like they're not going to be able to do it unless they have all their people. Number 8, Josh Jacobs. It's honestly like interchangeable. You can take out either one, but in my opinion, I thought Jacobs was just a little bit better than the Singletary this year. He caught 84% of his targets, almost 900 rushing yards on the year. He had 9 rushing touchdowns. I think Jacobs had a worse year this year than he did last year. He did play 2 less games, but I don't really feel like that'd be a huge factor. Raiders won 2 games without him, by the way. Yeah, I don't think he's bad. I think he's a good starting running back, but at the same time, not really exceptional, if you know what I mean. Number 7, Damien Harris. I don't know about y'all, but Damien Harris surprised the shit out of me this season. He had 15 rushing touchdowns, over 900 yards, and a pretty pass-heavy offense for New England. Had almost 5 yards a carry. He had almost 1,100 total all-purpose yards. Very good overall. Definitely no doubt about him, in my opinion, as to whether or not he is a starting running back in this league. Number 6, Najee Harris. I feel Harris is a little bit overrated. He averages under 4 yards a carry, but he does have almost 1,700 yards from scrimmage, which is actually crazy if you think about it. They targeted him 94 times as a running back, and he has 10 total touchdowns, and this was just his rookie year also. I've been saying this, I feel like I said this about everyone on the Steelers. As soon as Big Ben is replaced and they have a decent quarterback, I feel like he will be a better player. Only time will tell. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. I feel like it's almost inevitable. Number 5, Derrick Henry. And obviously, if Derrick Henry was healthy for most of the year, I would have included him in probably top 3, maybe even at the 1 spot. But despite only playing 8 games, that's right, only 8 games, Henry was just fantastic. Had 937 yards, 4 yards a carry, 10 rushing touchdowns, and averaged 136 total yards per game. If Henry even played like 10 games, he probably would have been top 3, in my opinion. Titans were somehow able to get a first-round bye to the playoffs, and he is coming back for the game against the Bengals. I think they're going to the conference championship game, in my opinion. Them getting Henry back right now is game-changing. I don't think the Bengals are truly ready. Number 4, Nick Chubb. Despite the Browns being absolute ass this year, Nick Chubb was still able to have a very productive season. Had almost 5.5 yards per carry, over 1,400 all-purpose yards. He had 9 total touchdowns. Chubb has always been a good, reliable running back. And it's crazy, too, considering Kareem Hunt's still on the team. That tandem seems to be working well. The only thing that needs to get better is Baker Mayfield, and I mean that literally because he's actually injured. And I think Browns fans sort of forgot that. Browns fans, be patient. If he sucks next year, move on. But I think the Browns are going to be in a good spot next year. Number 3, Joe Mixon. Mixon is just a star. Like, he's been a star for the last couple years. Like, on that team, he's been one of the few bright spots over the years. But this year in particular, he has just been exceptional. He has 16 total touchdowns on the year. Over 1,500 all-purpose yards. 4 yards a carry. The Bengals were one of the great surprises this year in the NFL, and I feel like if they keep building on to their current team, they are going to have a very bright future. I don't think this year is their year in particular. Mixon has had an excellent year. You can't really deny that. Number 2, Austin Ekeler. Despite missing the playoffs, Ekeler was a touchdown machine. Not only that, he was a yard machine too. Had almost 1,600 all-purpose yards. 9 yards per catch as a running back. They targeted him 94 times. Has 20 total touchdowns. And although the Chargers missed the playoffs, I think next year they are in a great spot. Justin Herbert's only getting better. Even if Keenan Allen's only getting older, Eckler's only getting better. That whole team is honestly primed for a good playoff run, I think, next year. And number 1, you already know, number 1, Jonathan Taylor. This is not a shocker in the slightest. Taylor went fucking crazy this year. Almost 2,200 total all-purpose yards. Over 5 yards a carry. Had 20 total touchdowns. He averaged almost 130 yards a game. Y'all would have called me a fool if I didn't have him on this list. Jonathan Taylor is the best running back in football right now. Forget the AFC. He is the best running back in football. Next year, I feel like he'll be able to maintain this. It'll be a fun race between him and Derrick Henry, I feel, assuming Henry didn't decline a little bit from his injury. But I honestly think next year is going to be an insane race between him and Henry. That's the AFC leading rusher list. Let me know what you think about it down in the comments. If you guys are new to the channel, once again, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. Leave a like on the video if you did enjoy. That's it from me, though. Thank y'all for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.